Welcome to the Women Writing Podcast. I'm your book coach, Liisa Kovala. I'm a certified fiction and memoir book coach and the author of Like Water for Weary Souls, Sisters Winter War, and Surviving Struthof, and the Hygge House Nordic Cozy Mystery Series. As a Finnish Canadian, I also love my coffee. Take a coffee break with us as we chat about all things writerly with authors and publishing industry professionals. And don't forget to sign up for my Women Writing newsletter on Substack and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content. In today's episode of Women Writing, I'm having a coffee break with SE Tschritter. With 20 years of leadership experience and contributions to over 40 books, multi-award-winning author SE Tschritter writes content that sticks with readers long after they close the cover. Schritter grew up in Chicagoland and has also lived in Minnesota and Oregon. She currently resides in Simpsonville, South Carolina with her husband, their 3 teen and preteen daughters, cats named Pitter and Patter, and their Siberian Husky, whom she lost the vote to name Onomatopoeia. Find her books and social media links at loveunedited.com or linktree/love-Sam-Evans. Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good, Liisa. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for joining me on Women Writing today. I have to ask you the most important question first.
All right.
Tea or coffee?
Oh, coffee, hands down.
Coffee.
Yes.
Okay. Me too.
And mostly creamer.
Yeah, me too.
Coffee with the creamer. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Me too. 100%. Occasional chai and tea in the evening because I can't drink coffee at night. But yeah, I'm a coffee girl too. Okay. So already we are connected with a coffee bean.
Perfect.
I love it. So I am so excited to talk to you because you are, have been doing this work for a very long time, but have you been, I always love to ask this question too. Listeners know that what I'm going to ask first, which is, have you always been a writer? Have you been writing since you're a kid, or did you come to it later in life?
I've always been writing and I've always been a writer. I did not know that I was a writer until I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I won a poetry contest in 3rd grade for first place in the district. And I spent 5 minutes writing the poem, right? Like I just sat down the night before it was due and I was like, way up high in the sky where planes don't fly. And it was, it was so cheesy, but it was 3rd grade. So it was okay.
Yeah. I think it was brilliant for 3rd grader.
Right. I don't think I would win any awards. They're like, you're 45. You need to get your act together. But I won this award, and then I've always been a storyteller. I used to tell my cousins stories and they always asked for more. And I didn't realize that I was a storyteller or a writer until I ended up writing this fiction book for fun. And my friends were like, Sam,
as one does.
Right. Like I write for fun. It's a release in your imagination, and I would rather write a book than read one, but people tell me that's not normal either. So I had to have friends say, you might be a writer. You might.
By the way, in case it didn't occur to you.
Right.
Amazing.
That is how I knew. Yeah.
I love that so much because there's so many of us who were writing as kids and just doing the thing. And I don't know that any of us, I mean, I think I remember writing in a little, I don't know what they're called, some kind of a year-to-year school day count journal or something where you put in who your friends were and what classes and what you wanted to be. And I had written writer many times, but it was something I wanted to be. I never thought of myself as a writer, right? Like there was no stamp of like, you're a writer now.
Right. Now you're an author.
Yeah. Now.
Yesterday you weren't, but now you are.
That's right. Now you get the certificate, you get a stamp and you're certified. I don't know what it is about that, but it's such a fascinating thing. So did you go to school to learn to write? Did you do other things first? Like, how did that journey look like?
I think a lot of us write other things. We write journals or articles or all sorts of things before we end up publishing books, if people have published books, and so I had considered writing as a minor for when I was going to college. And then I was like, no, that's way too many classes. Like, I don't want to do that. So like I said, I was writing this story. My husband and I were going through a hard time, and I used this fiction story as my escape. Kind
Yeah.
of even my processing, right? The first novel you write is autobiographical, is the joke.
Yeah.
And so I was just writing about these two people who were in the woods and they had to fight these bad guys and they had to escape. And so it was this fiction novel that I was writing.
Yeah.
And in the midst of that, I actually experienced a miscarriage. My late, and he's my late husband at this point, but our first two pregnancies ended in miscarriage. And I went online, this was back in 2009. I went online and there were hardly any books about miscarriage. And the ones that were out there about infant loss said 10 years ago I had a miscarriage, 15 years ago. And I felt like
Yeah.
it should be written in real time, like the real pain,
100%.
the real emotions, the real things that women experience. And I wanted to validate that loss for women.
Yeah.
So I wrote Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms, and it was picked up by a publisher. So the good version that people need to read is Miscarriage Moms with a blue cover, and it was
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
And I wrote that, and it has stories about of like just my own journey of infant loss, and
Mhm.
then other friends who've experienced stillbirth or
Mhm.
infertility, adoption, things like that. So
Yeah.
I wrote
Important.
that story, and it started out as a journal, but it
Mm.
was also so it was cathartic. That one was cathartic for me.
Mm.
And it started out as me healing myself, but then wanting to help other women have words for the things that they couldn't put into words themselves.
Right.
So that was my first publication. That was my first book, self-published.
Yeah.
Please don't find the first version from 2011 and read it because it was terrible. I didn't even know what passive verbs were. I
Right.
just started
Right.
like just got my story out and it's helped so
Yeah.
many women, but
Hmm.
that was the beginning of my journey. And then, I mean, a lot of people should be proud of their books when they write one. I was proud of my work, but I didn't like
Yeah.
telling people about it because it was an
Right.
automatic, oh, you've written a book? What book did you write? About miscarriage, about infant loss, actually. And then,
Yes. Right.
the conversation just
Crickets.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
terrible.
Right.
So I was excited to write. I wrote a couple devotionals after that, co-authored
Yeah.
them with a friend, and
Yeah.
then I'm my first fiction novel. Well, all novels are fiction. My first novel comes out in October, and I'm excited because then you get to tell people what you want. I've written a book about this. I've written a journal.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
answer the question differently.
That's right. No, but I think that's so important that, like, when you're writing, I think you're right about a lot of folks starting with something very personal, something that they need to get on paper for themselves, maybe for other people to kind of process what
Mm.
happened. And I can see how, like, I understand that whole idea of I had two miscarriages as well. And I remember at the time, like, no one talked about it. But if you did happen on somebody who had, like, and you said something about it, then all of a sudden people, like, were like, me
Mhm.
too. Or like there was this instant connection and then there was these sort of quiet conversations, but like it wasn't something people openly discussed. And so a book like that would have been so useful and helpful, right? Because I think
Right.
folks feel so isolated. Um, but I do understand that, right? It can either start a great conversation or be a little bit of a conversation ender. Good for you.
Right. Like, ooh. Yeah,
Right? Like, it's heavy, it's hard.
it really is.
Did you find writing it, like, was that, I hate to call writing therapeutic exactly, but there's definitely something there that helps us by writing it and processing it and helping other people. But
I
like, did you
think,
find it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. I mean, as I was writing it, like I said, it started as a journal. And at one
Yeah.
point in my journal, I wrote, you see, as if I was talking to someone else. Like, you see, da da da
Yes.
da da. And I
Yes.
was like, oh, I'm writing a book about miscarriage.
Yeah.
It just felt like surprising to me, even
Yeah.
that I would, but I think the most shocking part about that piece about the miscarriage was the physical, what happens to our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how is no one talking about this?
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't pull punches.
Yeah.
I describe that and I say like this is what you're going to experience and it's gross and
Hmm.
scary and terrifying and
Yeah.
normal for what you're going through, unfortunately.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, definitely, definitely important topic and needed. And I think more now than ever, because we just need to have these conversations and people need to
Right.
feel like, okay, this is part of living and it's part of going through life. And um, it's not easy and it's emotional. And like you say, your body
Right.
is like, just do their thing, like what we're designed to do, but
So
also
crazy. Yeah.
so
It
difficult to understand. Yeah.
felt like a Stephen King book
Right.
scene, you know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Shocking. Shocking. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. Um, so then there's like, I'm sort of interested in your conversation, like the idea of the things that helped you move from a writer who was writing early on for yourself, maybe for some friends might have seen it, and then slowly building into like putting things out in the world. And then at some point, did you say, okay, now this is what I want to do? I want to be a writer. I'm going to like publish. And what helped you build that author career?
Writing a writer's conference, 100% hands down.
100%.
First thing, so if anyone is interested in writing, they need to go to a writer's conference
Yeah.
because you meet so many professionals who are in the industry and they can steer you in the right direction. They can help you figure out your path and save you a lot of time. You know, a lot of people have made a lot of mistakes and done things the hard way, and they're like, no, this is, you need to go do it this way. But I went to my first writers conference in 2017 and everyone said blog, blog, blog. And I was like, I don't want to be a blogger. I don't, that is not what I want. But I wrote my very first blog about my very first writers conference. And I happened to meet a guy there who was a photographer. And I asked him if I could borrow his photos for my blog. And then because I borrowed his photos, he read my blog and he was writing, like I mentioned, that devotional that I co-authored. He was writing an adventure themed devotional or had this idea for one. And so he invited me to write the devotional with him. I wrote 20 stories, he wrote 20 stories. And it was outdoor adventure, biblical application, and then practical application. So he was like, he was in the Air Force and he's a whitewater rafting instructor and a certified climber and all, like
Yeah.
he knows exactly what to do in the wilderness. I'm like a polar plunge and don't chase the wolf through the woods to get the photo and don't ride black horses named Satan. And so his adventure stories are
Amazing.
all like, this is what you should do in the wilderness. And
Right.
mine are, don't,
Don't do
don't
that.
follow my example. But everything it builds on itself. Everything
Yeah.
becomes a portfolio for the next thing you're going to do. So I applied for a publishing company where I was going to be a freelance author, and I interviewed people and then I was writing their stories from first person, sort of like a ghostwriter, except I got a byline, so it wasn't ghostwriting.
Right. Mm.
And I got the job. And I think part of that was because I had the blogs up and I had this other book, and they're like, okay, she's not just Joe Schmo. Like she knows what
Yeah.
she's doing. She has some books under her belt. And so
Uh,
everything builds on itself. And
yeah.
then you pray for opportunities or you pray to recognize those opportunities and you walk through those doors because you
Mm.
don't know what's going to happen next. You were talking about writers' conferences.
Writers conferences. Yeah. So, yeah. So I was just saying, yeah, I really agree with you about those going to writers conferences because it's such a great opportunity to learn from other people and figure out, things you didn't even think about. But then it's the meeting people, right? Like it's the making those connections and the fact that you like. I love that you didn't want to do a blog, and that's what helped. Sometimes you need to do the things you don't really
Just
want to do.
do it. It's a portfolio. It showed my
Yes.
work.
Yes. It lets people
Yeah.
know that it's and now we're a days you always hear about newsletters, and I resisted newsletters. I resisted until I'm like, okay, I have to have a newsletter. And that has been a game changer. And I like it. Like, but it was initially I just couldn't do it.
I'm
But for
still
me, I think
not great at
that's
that
the thing.
part. Like I write
Yeah.
one, I'm like, oh shoot, I haven't written a newsletter article for 2 months. I should maybe,
Yes.
you know.
Right. I was once a season. So it was 4 times a year. There wasn't that much going on. talk
I
about.
don't want to inundate people with emails. I don't want to give them
Yeah.
content, if I'm going to send an email,
Yes.
I want it to have quality content that
Yeah.
they need or would
Yeah.
appreciate. So,
100%. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah, you don't want it. You don't want to be in their inboxes all the time and they're like, oh, delete, delete, delete. But
right.
on the other hand, yeah, it's a really good tool to have as well. And I do like connecting with people it's interesting.
Yeah.
So can you also talk about hiring out your areas of weakness? I think that's so fascinating. Like, there's no areas of weakness. Can't we do all the things all the time?
We cannot. We cannot. I actually hired someone for social media for a while and it wasn't paying itself back. So I had to cancel that, but it was really nice to be
Yeah.
able to stay in my writing brain and not have to go post the content. So, and I was actually, I created the content. I had a Word document where I like description. And so she just had to cut and paste.
Yeah.
The hardest part for me is actually scheduling the content. And
Right.
I have no idea why that is, but it's
Yeah.
tedious and I hate it. And so, and
Yeah.
then I would like go in to schedule a post for Instagram and accidentally post it instead and they
Yes.
just start over. And
Yes.
so that is a huge area of weakness for me. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Mickey, at all,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I have a little rumor says.
But the day I hired a publicist was a game changer for me because I
Yeah.
was chasing leads, I was chasing podcast interviews and didn't know, I had no idea how to get myself out there. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, this publicist had all these amazing opportunities and connections. He's like,
Yeah.
here, write an article for this magazine. So that the publicist is probably my number one game changer for
Yeah.
areas of expertise. And then also editing. We I
Yeah.
think for my first book, I had a friend who was good at English, proofread
Mhm.
it,
Yeah.
but I didn't even know the difference between a proofread, like a copy edit, and a developmental edit.
Mm-hmm.
And so she edited it for punctuation and grammar, but not much more, not much more
Right.
than that. And it
Yeah.
it could have been elevated to a new level if I had had a developmental edit. So paying
Yeah.
someone to do the editing, paying someone to do the cover for books,
Yeah.
because you want to put out, even if you're independent publishing. I've done both. I have traditional books and independent.
Mm.
For my independent work, I want it to look like a traditionally published book. I want it to be
Yes.
competitive with traditionally published books. So
Hmm.
you have to put in the work and the time to make that happen.
Yeah.
And the
Totally.
money, and a lot
Totally
of money.
agree. Yeah,
Right.
100%. No, but I think that's great. Like, even just having like a virtual assistant or somebody to do some of the social media or whatever it is that you just don't want to do, that will save you just so much time and
Brain
like,
space. Yeah.
yeah, brain space. And like, I feel like can be a real game changer. And I totally agree with you about a publicist. And I'm not sure that a lot of, like, for instance, independently published folks, because I'm both the same as you. I have traditional and independently published books. But a publicist is such an important thing to bring you out of side of your market. Like, we all have our kind of little space and people who know us, and then maybe family and friends, and then we widen it a little bit. And over time we might be widening it, but they have those connections that you can reach different markets. And I'm not sure that everyone quite gets the necessity of, of that. Like, and even small presses, they might have a publicist, or they might have somebody working for them that is doing some of that work, but there's a limited amount that they can do too, because they have other authors coming out that year, and maybe you'll get 6 months of publicity through them. So it's
Right.
really important. Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised there actually aren't more people who are publicists. Like, I feel like there's not
Right.
as for especially independently published authors, but Anyways, well, we'll have to get a group of people to just say, oh, there's a career opportunity here.
Peace, love, Mickey.
That's right. Yeah. Shout out to Mickey. You're doing a great job.
Ta-da.
So I want to ask about the book that came out in January, called The
Okay.
Prodigal Son, Crackhead to Jesus Freak, which is the best title ever.
Thank you.
It just makes me go, what is this going to be about? So can you discuss that, what it's about a little bit?
Yes. So it is my late husband's memoir. He was a crack addict and an alcoholic who became a Christian and then became a pastor. And late into his ministry, he relapsed and got in a drunk driving accident. And that's how we found the cancer, stage 4 cancer. They scanned for broken bones and internal bleeding and found cancer. So that was, the back cover copy, if you read it, it says, at 1:30 in the morning, Miss Evans received a phone call every spouse dreads. And then at 7:30 the next day, she received another phone call, or 7:30, 7:45. And so, Sergeant Jeremy Reed with the New Ulm Police Department, Miss Evans, there's been an accident. And then, Miss Evans, this is the hospital calling. We found something on the CAT scan. You need to come in right away. And it shattered me. I was his wife, so it shattered me. And everyone was Chicken Little, the sky's falling, the sky's falling, the sky's falling. And I was like, cancer, cancer, cancer.
Yeah.
That's what they were focused on. And I was like, my husband drank and got behind the wheel of a car, and no one else was injured. But
Right.
hold up,
Right.
I need a minute. But halfway into that, so the accident happened in 2017. And in 2018, he said, Sam, what are the chances that I would be married to an author whose best work comes from wounds? I want you to interview me and I want you to write my story.
Amazing.
I did not want to write it. I was like, this is a dark story. No one becomes an addict when they've had a beautiful, wonderful childhood where they're treated just, where they get what they need. And so there's a lot about ADHD and being bullied, becoming the bully, alcohol use, alcohol abuse, alcohol addiction, and just that whole journey for him. But he wanted people to know that, like, if God could use a screw up like him, God can use anyone. If God can redeem his story, then God can redeem anyone's story. And so that's the message of the book. And it took me 7 years to write it. I know I told you this before we went live on the recording, but it took 7 years. And in the middle of that, I had to stop and write other things, write articles, write blogs, write newsletter articles, write fiction stories that aren't even published yet. But I had to write other things because it was so, so hard to write. And whereas Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms was cathartic and therapeutic, this felt like a Horcrux, like the Harry Potter Horcrux, or like the book was my soul stone and I jumped to retrieve it. It was so bad. It was awful. But the message in there, like, if you think you're a piece of garbage and you read this and you resonate with how Clint thinks about himself and the shame and just the guilt that he has over all those pieces. And then you get to the end where he says, Sam, I think I finally love myself.
My gosh, that gives me shivers.
Like, it's powerful. And my editor, whom I paid to edit, right? I'd written this book and he was like, Sam, you need to cut the last 4,000 words. This line is your last line right here. This is your last line. And he was like, take this 4,000 words, shorten it, turn it into an epilogue, but that's your last line. And so he found it. And it's a powerful, powerful story and people are like, thank you so much for writing this.
Yeah.
So
100%. Right. Like, so you didn't want to do that. I can understand not wanting to sit. I mean, I've done a similar, very, 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 very different story, but just sitting down with my dad talking about his experiences as a concentration camp. with the Nazis. So he was,
That's hard. That's
well, it's
really
hard.
hard.
He was 84 and he was talking about his 16-year-old self. So, I mean, it's quite a different story, but I know how difficult it was some days to sit and listen to him. So how did you manage that? Like, did you take, like you said, you took breaks, you wrote other things.
Right.
What was that like for you?
So even the interviews had to be casual, and we would sit down, and there was one, because I have the audio recording still. So there's one
Yeah.
audio recording where before we even start, we're sitting there eating ice cream sandwiches, and like you can hear us licking our
Yes.
fingers and
Yes.
talking about like how sticky our fingers are, and like
Yeah.
I like this one better than the other one. And so even the interviews had to be very casual. I I took breaks, like I said. There were days where I could write two paragraphs or two sentences, and I would have to stop for 3 months and not go back to that book. And I didn't edit myself in the beginning. I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And the book, when I finished, was 130,000 words. The published version is, I think, 90. So
Mm,
I cut an entire
yeah.
book out of the book.
Right.
But I think it was really important for myself to not think too hard and to not limit myself or put
Mhm.
myself in a box and to just get those words out. So that was one thing I did. And then at the end, going back and writing about his death, writing about those last 13 days in the hospital
Mhm.
was I couldn't write it. I couldn't figure it out. And so I went out to my garden and I started pulling weeds and like just doing, I had to do something with my hands.
Yes.
And I took my phone
Mm.
and I hit record. Sorry, this is making all sorts of noise. I hit record the on my phone and just started talking out the story. And then I, when I was finished, when I blubbered through it and cried through it, I went back and I put my phone next to my laptop and I hit dictate on my laptop. And my laptop picked up the words from my phone and I went and showered so I didn't have to hear myself
Yeah.
crying.
Mhm.
When I came back, I mean, the entire document was, and like, there were no periods, there was no
Yeah.
punctuation. So it was one
Right.
long sentence, but it was a lot easier to edit that piece than to try
Mm.
to sit down with my grief and write that piece.
A
So
hundred
that
percent.
was how I did that.
Oh my gosh. So hard. It's so difficult. And that you did it so soon after as well. But I mean, you're also capturing the intense emotion of it, I'm sure. It's just incredible.
It
Yeah.
was it was pretty rough. And when he asked me to write it, I did not want to write it. It taught me so much, though, even about addiction, because I was the spouse of the addict, but he was the addict.
Right.
And it's written from my point of view and his point of view.
Okay.
So you get like what it's doing to me. And I have selfish moments. And you can also get into his head where he has like these demons that are just chanting and wanting him to drink.
Hmm.
And so it
Hmm.
taught me a lot of grace for people
Yeah,
dealing with addiction, which
absolutely.
was
Yeah.
unexpected.
So powerful and it's so important. Like both of these memoir pieces are, I think, touch a lot of people and help a lot of people, right? So as a little bit of a pivot, what about you have something coming out?
I do.
Tell us about that. So
I'm so
excited.
excited to write about murder.
Okay. Awesome. Me too.
Yeah, right. Romantic suspense, right? Like I said, fiction was my break. Fiction is my first heart. And I used to say
Yes.
that I wanted to write quality fiction that I was not embarrassed for my kids to read.
Yeah.
And so that's my goal. And I just had this book kind of sitting in the closet, sitting, however you want to word that, sitting on a shelf, not,
Yes.
literally, metaphorically. And my friend opened a publishing company and she's like, well, send me what you have. And I was like, oh, okay, here's a story. And she's like, I want it. I want to publish this book. So,
Amazing.
yeah. So October 6th, The
October
Lakeshore
6th.
Secret. Yeah.
What's it called again?
The Lakeshore Secret
The
with
Lakeshore
apostrophe S. Yeah. The Lakeshore's
Secrets.
Secret.
Secrets. Ooh.
And
Okay.
it's romantic suspense, closed door romance, all the
Yeah.
things.
And
Yeah.
so, okay, so can we talk a little bit about the, writing? one genre and then moving into another genre and how that feels for you as a writer?
Yeah, sure. It's a different brain, right?
Yeah, because go
No,
ahead.
no, it's okay. The Prodigal Son was actually written in a creative nonfiction style because I
Mm,
wanted it to be something that would attract both nonfiction readers and fiction readers. So it reads like a story. Uh,
okay.
so
Yeah.
the writing style is very similar in both books, even though one is fiction and one is nonfiction.
Yeah. Amazing.
Right.
And then like for me, like I wrote, I shouldn't say I wrote because I'm still writing historical fiction and creative nonfiction as you have, but also now cozy mystery, which is a completely different thing. And I just feel like it just took a whole other part of my brain. Like it was just like, oh, I can kind of relax into this now. I feel like I can
Yes.
just like all those other dark, deep things that I needed to write about. This is like kind of a little bit more joy filled in a
Yes.
way.
Right. Because it's not real,
That's
right? We
right.
get to be in an imaginary space
Yes.
where eh, like going back to our real lives or listening to that story about the concentration camps. Like I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really hard and that's real. So being able to like disguise hard topics within
Yeah.
your imagination feels a lot better and a lot
Yeah.
easier. That's why it's like I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to writing about murder, I said,
Yeah. I
it's
know.
because it's not real
You're
murder.
okay.
I'm not really murdering people.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yes. And we're not grieving. There's not that
Right.
whole like actual
Heavy
touch point to
piece.
our own
Yes.
lives.
Hmm.
And you can just explore other characters and create them how you want to. I think it's
Yes.
very freeing and can
Yes.
really stretch your writing muscle too in a different way. But I
And then
feel
our
like
kids
that
get to
all those
say,
other, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that our kids get to say, yeah, our moms kill people for a living.
Yeah, that's right. I know I always worry about somebody seeing my search history. I did
Hmm.
actually,
Right.
sorry for the people who don't love AI, but I did put into, I don't know, ChatGPT or something. I was looking for something about poisons and I just wanted to know a little bit like how you can get them. Like, would somebody be able to just walk into a hardware store or something to buy this particular poison? And ChatGPT or whatever it was like, I cannot answer that for you. Author. It's not for me. I'm not
I
planning
just,
something.
I don't really want to kill anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, there should be an AI like Chat GPT just for authors
Just
because
for
we ask
authors.
a lot of weird questions.
Right. How long does it take to die of?
That's right. Yes. Red flags.
Right.
Amazing. Well, it's such a delight to chat with you. I feel like you have such an interesting writing trajectory and really important books that folks should check out because hard topics but universal ones in lots of
Mm.
ways, right? Like so many
Hmm.
people are affected by um all of these issues. And also watch for your new book coming out in the
Yes.
fall. I think that's so exciting and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Yeah. And if people want to follow on Instagram or whatever, that my handle is SE Tschritter. So pay attention to right. Where is it? Right
That's
there?
right.
That I
Yeah,
can't
right
even
there.
point at it. Yeah. My name. It's backwards.
I will put it in the
But
show notes for sure, and
perfect.
folks
SE
can follow
Tschritter.
you and
Yeah.
learn more about your journey. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liisa. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
I believe writers need Sisu, strength, courage, and determination to get their projects done, and I can help you access your Sisu. Are you working on a novel or memoir? You don't have to do it alone. Join us in the Women Writing Circle. We meet bi-weekly for 90 minutes to get pages done. Or consider applying for an upcoming group book coaching program to develop the foundational elements of your story in a supportive community. These 8-week-long programs include weekly coaching calls, goal setting, craft discussion, and personalized feedback on writing tasks. If you'd prefer to work one-on-one, contact me about one of my coaching packages at liisakovala.bookcoach.com. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to have a coffee break with us at Women Writing. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Writing on Substack. If you like this episode, share it with someone who needs a writing break and a little inspiration. Happy writing! Thank you to Michael Jensen for his original music and editing, and to Mia Jensen for the logo design.